G'day everyone, it's Maydad here from Bondi Beach, Sydney, Australia. Today I'm joined with a special guest that I've known for over 15 years. I'm talking about 7 times world champion Chevelle Hallback from Florida. Chevelle, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful, wonderful, and thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been some time now that we've spoken about having you on the show and talking to you about your journey, your career, and all of your amazing achievements. Chevelle, can you share with us a little bit about your background, your journey growing up in Florida?
Well, let's see. I was born and half raised in Plant City, Florida. And the reason why I say half raised is because I was born in Florida, and up until the age of 7, my father joined the military. So when he joined the military, I've been abroad everywhere. I've been all over the United States. And I actually used to live in Stuttgart, Germany, where I graduated from high school there. But during the summer times, I would come back and forth to Plant City, Florida, to stay with my grandmother because that's my heart and soul. And even though, we was going all over the United States, all over the world, I had to come back home to stay with my grandmother. So, like I said, I was born in Plant City, Florida, originally from Plant City, Florida, but I've been all over the world because my father joined the military.
Can I just ask you something, Chevelle? You said you
Uh-huh.
lived in Stuttgart and in Germany and you went to school there. Du sprechen Deutsch? Du
I'm
verstehen?
Klein.
Klein,
Klein.
klein. So, funny thing I just want to share with you, as a young man, when I left high school, I started an
Mhm.
apprenticeship as a pastry chef. And my pastry
Okay.
master, the head chef there, was from Stuttgart and he spoke German. And one day when I was
Mhm.
returning from pastry school, I was in a taxi and the driver, I could notice they had a German accent. And I said to him, I'm going to work tomorrow. I want you to teach me to say something. And
Uh-huh.
I walked in the bakery the next morning and everybody was there. And as I walked in, I said, Good morning. I said, Was wir backen,
Guten
kochen?
Morgen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Then he made that. You learning German? I said, yeah, I'm learning German. And from then on, I started learning German because it was easy for me to speak German in the bakery to them because they couldn't understand English, then for them to learn English. But
Mm.
I've always loved the language and yeah, it was
Yeah.
an experience. How long were you in Stuttgart?
I was there for 4 years. I went there at ninth grade, graduated in 12th grade, and stayed there, I think, maybe a couple of months after graduation. So yeah, I was there for about like 4 years. And while I was there, I understood it. I didn't speak it that fluently. I spoke it enough to get by. I
Yeah,
did understood it, but like they say, if you don't use it, 9 out of 10, you lose it. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
came back to the States. No one knew how to speak German. So
yeah. A little bit like me. I can get by, but I'm not fluent at it. But Chevelle, what else can you tell us about your growing up in Florida? Obviously, your later years before you got into boxing.
yeah. Well, let's see. As far as my athleticism, I've always been an athlete. I grew up competing against the guys. I'll race you from that stop sign to that stop sign, playing football in the middle of the street. Um, but I always was an athlete. I ran track in high school. I ran the 100 meters, and I also was the anchor for the 4x100 relay team. I also did the long jump, the triple jump, and sometimes I would do the 200 as well. And I also was very, very good at basketball. Um, Play basketball in high school. My goal was to play for, because at the time it was no WNBA. And
Yeah.
I said, one day I'm going to play with the NBA. I'm going to play with the guys. I felt that I was that good. And so I really, really enjoyed basketball. Really enjoyed track and field. I mean, I could have, if I wanted to, if I would apply myself and push myself, I really could have went to the Olympics. I did go to the Junior Olympics in track and field and did very well. Basketball, I was great defensive player, point guard. Sometimes I even played forward because even though I was, kind of short for a basketball player, I could jump. I had some height on my jumps. And and in high school, I also played played in the band. I played the trumpet, in the marching band, and in the concert band, I played the cello. Not the cello, I'm sorry, the bass. But I also know how to play the drums, and most any brass instrument I know how to play. But the trumpet, I was first chair trumpet, first chair trumpet in high school. So music, I really love music. I play keyboard by ear. I grew up in a very close-knit family. My family, most everyone in my family, my father, my mother, they was athletes or they was into music some type of way. So, I grew up, playing instruments, grew up playing sports. I grew up with a very, very tight-knit family.
Chevelle, it sounds like you're really multi-talented playing all these instruments, this music, your track and field, your basketball. Who do you follow in basketball and who's your favorite player?
Oh man, in basketball, Spud Webb was my favorite player. Let me tell
Spud
you
Webb.
why. Yes, because he was short like me.
Yeah, like me. Then what
Yes,
about
and I
Muggsy
was
Brown?
like,
What about Muggsy?
huh?
Muggsy Brown.
Yes, yes, as well, as well. And I was like, if he can dunk, I know I can dunk. You know, because I was short, but like I said, I wanted to play with the NBA, and I was like, man. And so Spud Webb, man, that was the dude. He was my dude. But of course, Jordan, of course, Michael J, Irvin Johnson, of course those guys.
Mm.
And Dennis Rodman, when it came down to defense, yeah, he was the guy. He was the dude.
Who's your
Now, honestly, I really don't follow basketball like that anymore. What's his name? Stephen,
Stephen
I
Curry?
think. Yes, yes, yes. If I would have to say I have a favorite, it would be him right now.
Hmm. Tell me,
Yeah.
so what got you into boxing? I mean, you had an illustrious boxing career, which spans out for so many years. You've won seven
Yeah.
world titles. Can you tell us a little bit what got you into boxing?
What got me into boxing? Crazy story. My mother took me to see Rocky. Rocky won. And my mother is very animated. And I remember I was I think 5 years old. And I remember my mother jumping up in the middle of the movie theater and she's looking up at the screen and she's screaming at Rocky, hit him back, hit him back, hit him back. And that was just so exciting to me. I don't know why. And so 2 years later, I was at home, so supposedly had been in bed asleep. And my mother and father was in the room, and I heard my mother scream from the bedroom, hit him back, hit him back. And so I jumped out of bed to see, what was going on. And on the screen was Muhammad Ali and Spinks too, their second fight. And I can remember just standing there watching them fight. And as I'm watching them fight, I'm bobbing and weaving, and punching in the air and saying to myself, that's easy. Like, I can do that. That's easy, right? Going to bed wishing that I could be a boxer, wishing that I could do what I saw Muhammad Ali and Spinks do. But there wasn't female boxing back then. There was no such thing. So years went past, I think 18, 19 years later, I'm at some friend's house watching Mike Tyson fight, and the co-main event was two girls. And I saw that and about lost my mind. And I was like, girls box now? And that memory that when I stood there watching that TV, wishing that I can box, it came back to my mind. And I never thought about it since that day, until that day when I was watching the co-main event of Mike Tyson fight. And so that was a Saturday when I'm watching the Mike Tyson fight. And that Monday I went to the gym and I walked in and I was looking around and it was just guys there, and they was beating on a bag or the heavy bag, the speed bag, the double in. And I'm just standing there in awe, like, wow. I had never stepped foot in a boxing gym, like I said, it was not feeding with boxing. So I never had the desire to because there wasn't female boxing. Actually, I forgot about it until I saw that fight. But the trainer, walked up to me and he asked what I needed, what I wanted. And I explained to him that I wanted to box, and that transition from standing there as a little girl watching him fight into actually doing it and actually becoming a world champion, I went through a lot, you know. But that transition was hard. But at the end of the day, you know, that was what I wanted. And I had a passion for it. And I learned how to box and became very, very good at it and eventually became a world champion. I became a world champion very early, you know, after starting to box. I didn't have not one amateur boxing match. I went to the amateur shows, but no one would fight me. And either it was, I don't know if they was afraid, but also a lot of times they just didn't have anyone in my weight class. They was either too small or too big, or because of, you know, I was very muscular at the time, I would see people like, nah, I'm not fighting her. So after 6 months, I think of that, I said, I'm going to turn pro. And I turned pro and I won my first boxing match. In 30 seconds, I knocked the girl out. And from that, it was just up, up, up from that.
Can you tell me a little bit about your first world title? I believe you was it Layla McCarr that you fought and she hurt her hand and then you had to come back and who was that?
No, no, my very, very first world title was against Bonnie Canino.
Bonnie Canino.
Um, yeah, it was 1998, I want to say. And I had only had 4 fights. Bonnie, now girls didn't box, but back then they did kickboxing. And I didn't know, you know, that that was going on. And I never kickboxed. I think when I was real small, my mom put me in a karate class, you know, and I think I did 2 matches in the classroom, and not in the real fight. And I remember they used to call me killer because I would just go at them. But outside of that, I didn't have any type of formal training outside of me, you know, training to be a boxer. So when I fought Bonnie, with her kickboxing record combined with her boxing record, Bonnie had well over 13 fights.
Yeah, she's had,
Um,
I'm looking here now. She actually had 14 pro boxing fights plus all her kickboxing fights. So she would have had a lot more than that.
right, right. So, okay. So, yeah, so I fought her after only my 4th fight. And that was a very special fight for me because me and her were supposed to fight on the same card. And her opponent fell out, my opponent fell out. And I was going to go to, Bonnie had her own gym, and I was going to go to Miami and train with her to get ready for my fight. Because, like I said, we was fighting on the same card, and she was going to be the main event. But when her opponent fell out and my opponent fell out, the promoter called me, and he was like, hey, he was like, how about you fight Bonnie? And I didn't understand it. I'm like, me and Bonnie friends, like, how does that work? And I wouldn't want to fight Bonnie, you know? And then he said, well, if Bonnie would take the fight, would you fight her? And I said, I don't know. I have to talk to Bonnie about that, right? I was very green when it came to the business aspect of boxing.
Hmm.
And the money, believe it or not, was actually really good. And when we started boxing as professional boxers, we was really getting paid a little more than the guys was in the beginning of our
Really?
careers when we started boxing. Yeah. You know, like you would think you see some guys 4 rounds, they were getting paid like $400, which I only got paid $400 for my first fight. But then for this fight, I was offered $5,000. You know, and back then some of the guys that didn't go through the Olympics and those type of things, they wasn't getting paid that much. So, anyways, um, Bonnie called. No, I called Bonnie, and I said, "Hey," and I told her the situation. The guy called me, and he said this and he said that, and she was like, "Yeah, he called me too." And I was like, "What's up with that?" And she was like, "I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you one thing. If you decide that you want to fight me, I can't have you coming down here training in my gym, and I'm trying to help you, not hurt you."
Okay.
I was like, "What? So what are you? What?" Like I called you to say, "Hey, why is this guy calling me talking about us fighting?" You know what I'm saying? That's strange to me. Then you're telling me, you know, it'll be in my best interest not to take the fight. In other words, because I'll get beat, that you will hurt me. And so that was like, I was like, okay. So she was like, so I'm gonna need you to let me know what you decide to do. I said, okay. I never called her back, but I let her know what I decided to do when she saw me at the weigh-ins, when she saw me at the press conference, right?
Mm.
And so it was like, you just thought that, I mean, on paper, I guess, okay, but you came at me as if I'm like beneath you. Like I had no chance in at all of beating you. So I was like, okay, that's how I felt at that time. Now, me and Bonnie, we're very, very good friends to this day. You know what I'm saying? We're really, really good friends. But during that time, like I said, that's how I felt. And so I really had something to prove. That was
You
only
did.
my
And you did.
that was only my that was only my fifth fight. And I was fighting 10 rounds for the championship. And I beat her. Matter of fact, I stopped her in the seventh round. So that I trained so hard for that fight. And my trainer that just passed away, he was the one that trained me for that fight. A lot of things that I know how to do now, he showed me how to execute the things that I wanted to do. Because Roy Jones Jr. was my idol. That was my idol. And I wanted to fight just like Roy. So a lot of things, a lot of the slickness that I have, I mean, it was already in me, but he showed me how to bring it out, my trainer. He showed me how to bring it out and how to capitalize on a lot of things that I do that's awkward. I do a lot of awkward stuff. I do a lot of stuff that you're not supposed to do. I do a lot of wrong stuff, but he showed me, because of my athleticism, he showed me how to capitalize on a lot of things. And I went out there, I trained really, really hard, and I beat her. I stopped her, as a matter of fact. So that was really something for me.
Chevelle, you went on after that fight to fight Layla McCart, and you ended up fighting her a couple of times. Can you tell us a little bit about that fight?
Um, Later came in a little after me, and the first fight, I remember me and Layla. It wasn't so much me and Layla, but me and Layla and her trainer at the time. Oh man, we used to go back and forth. He used to be a trash talker, and which, like, every trainer should feel that their fighter is the best, and there's no way that anybody can beat their fighter. And that's how he felt about Layla. Now, Layla has great skills. She has improved, a lot from the time that when we fought
She
to
had
now.
she had 30 fights when she fought you when you were in your I believe what was it, your fifth or sixth fight when she had
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't know. Let me see. I think I had a little more fights than that when we fought. I'm not positively sure, but our first fight, we was supposed to fight for a title. I think you're right, though. We were supposed to fight for a title in Savannah, Georgia, and I think she hurt her hand, broke her hand, if I'm not mistaken, but she still wanted to go along with the fight. So because of that, they decided, okay, we're not going to do it as a title. We just do it as a fight, 10-round fight. And I beat her. So, you know, many may say, well, you beat her because she broke her hand. So, okay. So we ran it again. I think maybe what, 3, 4 years later, if I'm not mistaken. And it was close to her hometown. And it was a good fight, great fight. And I beat her again, convincingly beat her. And yeah, that was a good fight. That was a good fight between me and Layla McCarter. And we're good friends to this day. We're extremely good friends to this day.
that's a
Yeah.
great thing about boxing with people, your rivals in the ring, when outside the ring, years later, you rekindle spirits and talk and you're friends for life. Chevelle, you've had some really memorable fights with against some of the best female fighters on the planet to lace up
Yeah.
the gloves. Girls like Holly Holmes, Cecilia Brokehurst, and so many others. Can you tell us a little bit about who you believe was the best fighter you ever faced?
Um, well, as far as two, there's two. I'll say my second fight, and I was not skilled at all. And I fought Lucille Riker. Lucille Riker had only had, I think, maybe 3 boxing fights, but she had over 100 kickboxing fights when I fought her. And the only fight that she ever lost against was a man. When I fought Lucille Riker, my first fight, like I said, I knocked the girl out in 30 seconds. So I wasn't training as hard as I should have because I thought I was invincible. I thought I was like the baddest woman on the planet. And I took the fight with Lucille Riker not in the best shape that I could have been. And that caused me to lose that fight. But even still, her skills was impeccable. You know, she had great skills. Um, and that fight in itself taught me a great lesson. Even though she had the skills that she had, if I was in shape, I would have beaten her. I beat her the first round, I beat her the second round, the third round was a draw. Fourth round, she was coming and she was getting me. In the fifth round, they stopped it. I was exhausted. But it taught me a great lesson that I could be one of the best. Um, you know, don't ever go into a fight out of shape. And even with that fight, I only knew 1-2, 1-2. But, you know, I knew how to street fight a little bit. And I had a great heart, a lot of pride. And I was going to put it all on the line no matter who it may be that they put in front of me. But that fight taught me a lesson. But outside of Lucille Riker, I say the best fighter that I fought was Melissa Hernandez. We have the same, almost identical style. You know, she's a very tricky, slick fighter. I'm a very tricky, slick fighter. So fighting her was like playing chess. It was like playing chess, and I really had fun. Really, really had fun fighting that fight with her. So I would have to say, hands down, Melissa Hernandez was, when it came to the whole package, she had the whole package.
And that was a really memorable fight for all of us. A fight that was a draw, ended up being a draw, which I believe, and
Yes,
no disrespect to Melissa,
yes.
because we all love Melissa, that you won that fight. I believe you should have won that fight. I just think that
Appreciate that.
your counter-punching ability and you were able to position yourself out of harm's way and catch and shoot, come back with good combination punching, and you landed more shots. And I just think that you were more effective. But when you look back at that fight, that to me it was like the level of that fight, the standards of both, the quality of boxing in that fight was still, even today, unmatched in many female world title fights. And
Yeah,
that was just one of those fights that you can look back onto and say, wow, those you could see two great athletes in the ring, skilled professionals. But Chevelle,
yeah. But you know what? Now there's one other person that I did fight. I have to say that she is the slickest fighter that I ever fought. Her name was Alicia Ashley. Um, they call her slick Alicia Ashley. Man, she was very slick. She used to be a ballerina before boxing, and she just took that her footwork in the ring with her. And when I tell you she's hard to hit, and we fought for a title, and I won. But I can say that if it wasn't because of my power, she would have won that fight because she was so slick, getting out of the way and coming back and countering. And I think I slowed her down because I was a much heavy hitter than she was. Um, but yeah, she was another slick fighter.
some amazing memories, Chevelle, with your illustrious boxing career. What are you doing now? And what plans do you have for the future?
Well, I said I wanted that one last goodbye fight, and I'm always putting myself to the test. Always want to fight the best. And a young lady out there, Clarissa Shields, a lot of people will say that I'm crazy to even think to even want to fight her because, she's much younger than I am. She's much bigger than I am. On paper, everything is against me. But sometime back, I think it was like 2019, if I'm not mistaken, we was going back and forth on um, Twitter at the time. It was called Twitter. Now it's called X. But anyways, it was going back and forth, and she made a comment. She said, "You can't beat me." And I laughed at her and I said, "A fight between me and you would be like a fight between Mayweather and Canelo, and I'm not Canelo." In other words, Mayweather beat Canelo like he was his father. I would beat you like I'm your mother. And so, I've been really gunning for that fight for a long, long time. Will it ever happen? I hope it happens before, this year ends or the very, very beginning of next year. But outside of that, man, just training, I do public speaking, motivational, inspirational speaking. I do that. And I also a screenwriter where I write for TV and for movies. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm up to right now. Just hoping and wishing and praying that I will get the opportunity to fight that last fight against Claressa Shields, and then I'm gonna go ahead and retire.
Well, regardless of whether you get that fight or not, Chevelle, I know I'm just sensing it that you will be inducted into the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame for all your contribution to boxing and efforts. Chevelle, it's been amazing talking to you. Can you let us know how do people who want to know a little bit more about you and how to get in contact with you? What's your Instagram handle and what's your Facebook name?
Gotcha. My Instagram handle is the real underscore Chevelle Harbach. Once again, Instagram is the real underscore Chevelle Harbach. Because if you just go to Chevelle Harbach, they hacked that, so that's not a good page. But the real underscore Chevelle Harbach. You can hit me up on Instagram and on Facebook, Chevelle Harbach. On Facebook, and I do interact with my fans. I do answer my DMs. So, you can contact me for training. You can contact me if you want me to come out to speak. I speak to children. I also speak to adults. And, if you just want to just say hello, Chevelle Harbach at Facebook and the real Chevelle Harbach at Instagram.
Well, there you go, everyone. Talking with seven-time world champion and good friend Chevelle Harbach. Just a reminder, next week I'll be catching up with Alicia Leah, who's the CEO for 𝙾𝙗𝙗, Keeping It All Natural. And we'll be talking about all the great things that she's been doing in the health and wellness industry. As for now, from Chevelle Harbach in Florida and me in Bondi Beach, Sydney, Australia, take care and have an amazing week. All the best.